Hey guys, this is Gene at DNS Bait. This report is current as of Thursday on the 23rd here. We'll change things up a little bit. Start on the south end of the chain. We'll start on Lake Kegonsa. Water temperatures there are in the low 70s. Bluegill action has started to pick up for a handful of guys down there. A lot of bluegills in those spawning areas over in Barbers Bay, Holiday Point area, over by Sugar Bush, over by the state park, over in those areas. Look for fish in 3 to 6 feet of water. Walleye anglers continue to have some success down there throwing crankbaits over the weeds, like husky jerks, countdown or floating rapalas. Some of the suspending baits have been working pretty good down there. Up on Lake Waubesa, also the water temperatures are in the low 70s. As far as action goes, the bluegill guys are struggling a little bit. Every once in a while I do hear some fish up on that north end of the lake, up around the state park, the state park, Governor Nelson over in there, up towards the railroad tracks. Also down around Goodland Park, and then down on the south end. But it's been pretty sporadic. The weeds are not what they should be. We had some dark water this spring, so the weed growth seems to be way behind down that lake. Muskie fishermen down there have been reporting some success, though. Typically it's been a kind of a night thing from what I've been hearing, some topwater action. Up on Mud Lake, bluegill action there seems to be a little bit sporadic. I'm sure that the fish that live in that lake are probably done spawning, I would think, by now. Not sure. Such a strange spring. Otherwise, start looking for some fish on the edge of the dredge hole in that area, and probably even starting to suspend a little bit out over that deep water. That lake's a little different than the rest of them. Up in Lake Monona, there's bluegill spawning activity starting to occur in several areas on the lake. Some of that activity is a little bit difficult to witness because the water's getting pretty dark and green. A lot of algae starting to show up or bloom. The weeds are up good on that lake. Squaw Bay, Turville Point to Olin Park, all good areas to look for bluegill action. Over by Wild Haven, all the way down to that Monona Drive shoreline. All that area is good areas to look for bluegill spawning activity, or even throwing out over the weeds with a bobber and a small jig with a red worm or a spike or wax worm on it. Guys are picking up some bluegills down through there. I must admit the bluegill action isn't what it should be and isn't what it typically is on that lake, but it does seem to be the lake that seems to be consistently producing more action than the rest of them. Crappie action seems to be really scattered along some of the deeper weeds, and not any big numbers of fish anymore that I can hear. Again, the muskie action on Lake Monona isn't what it typically is, but it is starting to pick up. Some of the guys are starting to say the fish are starting to hit over there too. Lake Mendota, water temperatures in the low 70 area. Smallmouth bass seem to be fairly active on the bars. Largemouth along some of the deeper weed lines. Look for some of those fish. Bishop's Bay, over by County Park, Pheasant Branch, Spring Harbor, back in University Bay, all those weed lines have had largemouth action on them. I have started to hear a little bit of perch action on Lake Mendota. Don't get too excited, but it's been on a couple of the weed lines, and size-wise it's been fairly mixed, but some keeper-sized fish and some decent action reported a couple of times this past week. Don't get all excited yet, like I say, but we'll keep our eyes on that, keep our ears open. Hopefully that'll start to pan out a little bit. Catfish action seems to be taking a little bit of lull at the moment, but they are still catching some fish up on the north end of Mendota and up into Cherokee Marsh, also out around Governor's Island. Really, that's about it for right now. Again, send those pictures in. I'd like to get those up on the slideshow. You can just use our website and send it in on the info page, and I'll get them up as soon as I can. If you got anything you'd like to share, you can call us at the store. That number is 608-241-4225. Or if you're on the road and need a report, you can call our hotline at 608-244-3474, which spells Big Fish. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week.